Welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. This is Jacob, and I hope you're all doing well. This week on the podcast, Lily sits down with Mackenzie to talk all about her recovery from, and it's a good interview. I think you're all going to enjoy it, and it's coming right up. For our intro today, I just have a quick topic to talk a little bit about intentionality in recovery. What kind of sparked this is sometimes I think as addicts and probably just as human beings in general, we have the best intentions, but maybe life gets in the way. I'll give you an example. One of the reasons why I'm doing this intro solo is I had the best of intentions to connect with one of my co-hosts to schedule the intro, and then life got in the way and the week was coming to a close and we didn't really have time to plan for that segment. Even though I had the best of intentions, it didn't happen. That can happen with addiction too, right? There's a lot of times where people might say, I really need to quit this substance, or I really want to quit Kratom, or I know this is bad for me. I really need to stop Kratom. But it doesn't stick, and you find yourself back at the smoke shop, order another kilo online, whatever it may be, right? There's something about the intention to quit a substance that sort of starts you on that journey. The want and the need will continue to be in the back of your mind, but it's not until you get to the point of saying, I'm ready and I don't care what I need to do. I'm going to get off this substance, or I'm going to quit Kratom, that you're really going to cross that Rubicon and finally get off it. I was thinking about all of the relapses I had and all of the times that I would set the intention in the morning that I was going to quit that day, and a few hours later I found myself at the smoke shop buying more extract. And what I've learned, I think, in the past almost 2.5 years of being off of Kratom is it's a little bit more than just intention. It's really having an intention, making a plan, and then executing that plan and being willing to suffer and to recognize that it might not go as planned, but I'm going to stick with that intention and I'm going to see it through. So I just wanted to speak a little bit about this because I know there's lots of people struggling out there who want to quit Kratom, who feel like they need to quit Kratom. And I just want to let you all know that if you've made that intention, you're going to get there. You just have to really be willing to do whatever necessary to get that sobriety that you're striving for, and to be willing to deal with a little bit of pain and potentially suffering along the way. But I promise you, it will get better and you can see yourself on the other side of this addiction. So I hope it is a little bit uplifting and maybe helpful. We will get you on to Lily's interview with Mackenzie here in a second, and I wish you all a wonderful week and keep it Kratom free.
Hi, welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. My name is Lily, and today I'm here with Mackenzie Wisdom from California. And today we're going to talk about the wellness world and Kratom and how it's affected Mackenzie in the last few years of her life. How are you doing today, Mackenzie?
Hi, Lily. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here. Like I was mentioning before we got on, this podcast was a huge support to me through my own experience with addiction and recovery. So, super excited to be here and yeah, tell my story.
Wonderful. So, how would you like to introduce yourself? Where are you from? How old are you? What do you do for your work or day to day life?
Yeah, my name's Mackenzie. I'm 29 years old. I'm originally from the Chicago suburbs. I actually moved out of LA at the end of last year after getting out of treatment, which we'll talk about. And since then, I've spent most of the year traveling, exploring, and I'm actually getting ready to sign a new lease in Chicago. So this is my first time putting roots down since leaving LA, which is exciting.
Oh, exciting. Okay, so from LA, from California to Chicago. All right, that's wonderful.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Then
you
I was just gonna say, yeah, for I forgot to touch on work, but I own a business called Wise and I host luxury wellness retreats. I was doing that for the past 3 years or so. After treatment, I've put that on pause for a little bit, put a pause on hosting retreats. It's a lot, and I've just been taking some time to reflect and be intentional about where I wanna take my career going forward, and I'm also a writer. That's been a huge part of my journey this past year. So I've been doing a lot of writing and just, yeah, really trying to get clear on where I'm going next.
That's wonderful. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, writing about the healing process has been really important for a lot of folks, and I'm glad that you're able to
Totally.
write about it too. Yeah, your writing and videos on your recovery that I've encountered so far have been really eye-opening, and I think a lot of people are learning some things from you, and we'll touch on that soon.
Thank you.
But
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So you are a writer, you are slash were in the retreat and wellness industry. I know that doesn't ever really leave us though. It's always there. Like the wellness never really
Totally.
leaves.
Totally.
Yeah. So what is your kratom abstinence date?
So it's actually crazy we're doing this interview now because as of this week, last year is when I checked into treatment. So it's like a full circle moment. So it's been officially a year since I've been out of active addiction. I had two small slips shortly after treatment. So my official kratom abstinence date would be December 20th.
Okay. That's wonderful. Hey, since the last slip up, you've made it past 6 months, which is a huge, you're at 8 months now
Yep.
at least. So that's a huge part. 6 months is a time when a lot of people slip up in their addiction and relapses. It happens. So I'm glad you made it past that 6 month like danger zone. That's great.
Thank
So
you. Yeah.
yeah, so I guess let's start to get into your story. Like, how did you first encounter kratom? What form was it in? How were you exposed to it? Or what did you hear about it before you started taking it?
Yeah, for sure. So my first encounter with Kratom was in 2021 through the viral Kratom kava drink. I had just moved to LA. I was working a full-time marketing job. I had just started my business. And I had initially heard about the tonic on one of my favorite podcasts, super popular podcasts in the health, wellness, business space. I know a lot of other people have found it there too. Was a really huge fan of that brand for a long time and had bought many of their products in the past. And so shortly after hearing about it on that podcast, I was actually buying a smoothie at Sun Life Organics and I saw the display at the checkout counter. And I immediately recognized the bottles from the podcast. I was like, oh, yeah, I just heard about this. And I had been experimenting with sobriety from alcohol over the past couple years prior, starting each year with 100 days sober. So I was actually like 83 days into a 90-day sobriety stint from alcohol when I first found the tonic. And it was really appealing to me because early in sobriety, going out and social events are not always the easiest thing. So I was excited to find what I thought was a healthy alternative to make that easier and more enjoyable for me. And also just with working a full-time job and having started my business, it became something that I thought was really helping me stay productive and focused with all of that. Obviously, that ended up not being the case in the end, but that's what I thought initially and part of why it was appealing to me.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a very similar story. I was also
Mm,
sobriety from alcohol when I found it. And you were working in the marketing world, which means you were online all the time and listening to
yeah,
media all the time and very much exposed. So
totally.
you heard it on one podcast. Were there other podcasts or other ads that popped up, or was it just that one?
It was funny because it was one of those things where you hear it once and then all of a sudden it just keeps coming into your field. So then I heard it on the one and then I started hearing it on others. I saw wellness influencers promoting it and it was being sold in all of the health food stores, yoga studios, like it was
Yeah.
everywhere. So I was just
Ugh.
seeing it at a lot of these places that I would frequent. And so it was just
Yeah.
continuing to pop up, and we can get into that, but I think the fact that it was so heavily marketed within the wellness industry really reinforced my beliefs around thinking it was healthy and okay, and it helped me justify my addiction for a long time.
Yeah, if it's at a frickin', like, juice smoothie shop. For those who don't know, Sun Life Organics is this awesome company that you can buy, like, supplement powders from them online if you're anywhere. Like, I bought their, like, matcha powder and
Mm,
dragon fruit powder online, but in LA and other places in California, they have really awesome juice shops. It's like smoothies and juices and nut milk things and delicious, like, it's all literal health food. So for this addictive substance to hit the shelves and no one be any the wiser at the time, like, any of us could have fallen prey to that. Get a smoothie, get a kratom shot, like, what? Yeah, so
totally.
you're
And
you're
at like I
innocent
said, at the
too,
health
like, no one
y and, like, at the health food store too, like, anyone in LA knows of Erewhon, super high-end health food stores. I was buying it there to begin with. They eventually took that off the shelves there, but it was in the beginning, I was buying it at those places. So I really totally thought it's a process to sell any type of product in these places that are
Yeah,
known for being healthy foods, organic, all that. So I was really thinking, "Oh, this must be good, of course. How could it not be?"
dang, it was at Erewhon?
Yeah, for a long time.
My
Yep,
god, can't believe that.
crazy. I think
Well,
they had officially
moving
took it off the
wow,
shelves maybe when the class action lawsuit started. I don't know for sure, but it was probably around that time.
okay,
Yeah,
around 2023, wow. And
yeah.
so do you have a history of addiction aside from doing your 100 days sobriety challenge here and there? Were you struggling with addiction or just trying to be more aware of your drinking? What was your process with the past with addictions?
So this was really like my first direct personal experience with addiction, and nothing has ever had quite a hold on me like this specific substance has. But when I went to treatment, I really did a lot of reflecting and spent a lot of time confronting a lot of the addictive tendencies that I have always had throughout my life, alcohol being one of those things. I definitely had a tendency to binge drink and not really know when to stop. And I think I really confronted that when I was at treatment. But the reason I was experimenting with sober curiosity was mostly because I was in the wellness space. I just didn't think it was good for me, and partially because of those reasons I mentioned too. But like I said, it never was something where I was drinking every day or thought it just never got to the point that I got with these tonics.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, I know sometimes these kratom drinks really it opens up a channel in the brain and it like fully activates something that may have been
Totally.
like really small and then it just
Mm.
goes like that. So, yeah, I definitely feel
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So, how long were you using the kava kratom tonics? What was your progression like? How did it change? One here and there and then more, or was it like what was your process with using the substance?
I would say it started very innocently, like I think it does for a lot of people. I would take a half bottle here, half bottle there, which was the recommended dose, typically on nights out and for social outings, just to help with that ease and conversation and everything. And then, like I said, I was running my business and doing a full time marketing job at the same time. So I was definitely spreading myself very thin. And I remembered it was marketed as like a productivity enhancer and a flow state hack. And all of these little buzzwords came back into my mind. And I'm like, oh, this is great. So then I started using it to help me work. So I'd be taking it in the office. And then eventually that turned into taking it to help me work after hours, like when I would get home from the office to be able to extend that time I was working. And one bottle turned to two, two turned to three, three turned to four, so on and so forth. And eventually I was at the height of my addiction, I was at like 6 to 7 bottles a day. I think the most I ever took in a day was like 8 or 9 bottles. So definitely, I would say that all happened over the course of a year. Like, I can't give exact numbers for at what point I was at which, but I would say over the course of the year, it just would continue to raise and raise until I was at that point.
Yeah. I know it's interesting how this product makes us feel like we can suddenly be machines and just do it all. And I think that some of the expectations in society that we're like, oh, we could finally do all the things
Yeah.
that we're supposed to do, quote unquote. And then it makes us
Yeah.
be able to do them temporarily. And it's a little scary because you can, and then it peters out and it doesn't work that way for very long. But
I think that
yeah.
was actually just to touch on that, 'cause that's, like, such a key part for me is I realized I've always been a very much a high achiever. I've always put a lot of pressure on myself. I've always been involved in a lot of things and done a lot of things and almost treated myself as a machine for a very long time for most of my life and never really knew how to rest. It's still something I struggle with, and this really perpetuated that tendency of mine. It just allowed me to keep running at this insane pace that was just absolutely not sustainable, and I was doing that. I had been living my life like that, and then this just brought it to the next degree. So, that
Yeah.
has been a huge part of something that I am still trying to learn, is how to treat myself as a human and not as a machine.
I know, and allowing yourself to actually slow down, and what does that mean for you as a
Yep.
high achiever, and what does that mean in general? Are we
Mhm.
allowed to slow down, and what does that mean?
Yes. Totally.
Yeah. So you're about a year in, and it's at its kind of height of use and amount. Was there a point during that time that you realized, "Oh, no, this is getting out of hand," or "I'm concerned," or "I'm starting to doubt that this is actually okay. Maybe there's something wrong here."
Yeah, I would say it took a while before I, like, really admitted to myself that I had a problem. I think, like I said, the fact that it was so heavily marketed as something that was healthy and it just reinforced my ability to justify my addiction, and I really just didn't admit it to myself for a long time. I think deep down, I knew I was growing a dependency, but it wasn't until I was already pretty deep in it that I admitted to myself that I had a problem, and I remember one day I was just, "Okay, I'm just gonna not take it today." And at this time, I had no idea what kratom was, that there was even kratom in the drink. I had no idea anything about it, no idea about withdrawals. So I was like, "Okay, I'm just not gonna take it tomorrow." So I went into the office, business as usual, and completely backfired. I immediately started going into withdrawals. Like, I remember I was on the bathroom floor of my corporate office. I was like, my stomach was not okay. I was crying, I was shivering, I was overheating, like, I was just like, I wanted to die. I was just not okay, and I was like, "What is going on here?" And I really thought something was wrong with me. Like, I thought my mental health had just taken a turn for the worse. Like, I just didn't know, and that's when I really first started trying to dig into this and figure out what is going on here. Because I knew the only thing that could get me off that floor was a feel free. So I'm like, sorry, was a cup of kratom tonic. So I was like, I know this is something here. And so that's when I first found the Reddit thread. And that is how I realized that there was kratom in this drink, realized that I was going through withdrawals, realized that this was literally an opioid. So I finally started understanding. And from then on, it became this just insanely exhausting loop of quitting, going through withdrawals, relapsing, repeat. My mental health just continued to get worse and worse. So did my physical health. Everything just got worse and worse. And meanwhile, I was still just trying to run at this insanely fast pace that I always had and that I had gotten so accustomed to. And so that just
Yeah.
perpetuated it even more. And that was a huge reason why it was so hard for me to ever actually quit because I was just continuing on with my life and trying to keep up with everything. Meanwhile, I'm like silently struggling with this. And it was really painful. Like I was just a complete shell of myself for a long time.
Yeah, that sounds really exhausting. And meanwhile, you're understanding what's happening to you. You don't know exactly what's happening at all. You're going through withdrawals for the first time in your life, just in general. And you think you're breaking down and it's your fault. And in reality, it's this product's fault. And it's so hard
Yeah.
when you think you're like, "Oh, it's me. There's something wrong with me. There's yet another thing wrong with me." It's no, it's
Yeah.
something that's happening to me, actually. Yeah.
And being the way I am, I was just like, I just need to meditate more. I need to go to the gym more. I
Yeah.
need to go do X, Y, and Z more. Meanwhile, I had no idea that this was actually my root. This was the I don't wanna say it was the root problem, but this was causing a lot of my problems. This is why my mental and physical health were down the drain.
Yeah.
And I pretty much was in that cycle of severe addiction for the following, like, I would say 2.5 years. The longest I ever was able to quit on my own was 6 months, and I relapsed again at the end of December 2023, and that is when I then found the black cat or yeah, I relapsed when I found the black cat bottles, so the new formula, and
Oh.
basically 2024 was just an insane year of just constant trying to quit and relapsing. And I think I had a total of
Mm.
maybe 20 consecutive days total off of this stuff, like consecutively. So until I finally decided to go to rehab. So that's a I had a lot of quits is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
A lot of attempts at trying to
Yeah.
quit and a lot of times going through withdrawals on my own.
Yeah. You wrote on your intake that you had maybe quit cold turkey about 50 times. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's really you're trying to do it. You're not like, "Oh, whatever." Like, you're putting your mind to it. You've a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people would that's hard to maintain. Do you know how long that time span was of, like, when you first said, "Oh, I'll go a day without it," to where you
I
entered treatment maybe?
I mean, there was the initial first year, I would say, of
Yeah.
just like usage building. And
Yeah,
then it
yeah.
wasn't until probably a year or maybe even a little after a year in that I realized this was an addiction. And once you lift the veil and you see what's really going on, you can't look back. And so I
Yeah.
would say it was probably, like I said, I had a 6 month period of sobriety in there, but it was pretty much 2-ish years basically then of the quitting and relapsing. And I don't know the exact amount of times I tried to quit, but it was definitely around there, probably around 50
Yeah.
times because that counts all the days where I would just be like, I would get 1 day in and then I would relapse again, or I would get 3 days in and I would relapse again. And it was just this
Yeah.
exhausting cycle and going through these withdrawals, which you know are insane over and over again and so taxing. And the amount of situations I've been in while detoxing from this stuff is insane. I've done just like I've been through about every possible situation imaginable with these things because it was such a long time. And I think one thing which I'll say now, because this is, I think, a big one that I didn't realize that kept causing me to relapse was I didn't understand pause post acute withdrawal syndrome. I understood the acute withdrawal phase, 5 to 7 days of just you're fully detoxing. It's terrible. But I didn't understand. I was just expecting myself to go back to normal. I thought I was just supposed to be fine again. And my baseline had fallen so low, and I was still experiencing this depression and anxiety and inability to
Yeah.
focus and just this feeling of anhedonia, like just no joy. And that was extending far beyond the acute withdrawal phase when I would quit. And so I was like, this is just my life. Like, this stuff has permanently ruined me. And that there is why I kept relapsing because I was like, I don't know how to live without this. I need this to function if I ever want to be happy again. And so I just want to say that because when I learned that it actually it's a normal part of the healing process. Like your brain takes a while to recover from an addiction like this. Once I finally understood that, I was able to have a little bit more grace with myself and more patience in understanding like this is going to take time. This is not just like a 5 day stint of withdrawals and then we're done. This is a journey. And I think just having that realization really made a difference for me.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that I knew what anhedonia was until I was in it with the kratom detox, and I'm like,
Same.
"Oh, there's a reason why I don't like doing anything that I like to do anymore. There's an actual scientific explanation of this, and it's not
Yeah.
just me, and, oh, we're not ruined forever, but this is part of it." I'm glad you found out about that early on, early
Well,
enough on.
yeah, it wasn't early on. It was actually after
Ah,
being treatment.
okay,
That's why
never
I
mind.
said that's why I was relapsing so many times. But I like I said, when
Got
I
it.
did learn that, it helped me understand, and I was like, "Wow, if I would have known this sooner, I think I would have."
Yes.
I don't know, who knows, but it definitely helped learning that, and that's why I wanna say this that message now is that hopefully someone else listening to this can maybe hear that and be like, "Okay,
Yes.
I need to this is
Yes.
gonna take time." Yeah.
Yeah, I know, and it's not fun to realize that it takes longer than you'd like it to.
Oh.
Yeah. It can take a year to a year and a half, sometimes up to 2 years apparently to fully reset everything after addiction. It takes
Yeah.
time. Like, it took time to build up and it takes time to come back
Yeah.
down, and it's part of it.
And I
It's
th
not just
and I think even now, I mean, my life looks completely different than it did then in a short amount of time, really. But I think it's taken honestly until now even to feel normal again. And I will say though, this has opened up a new can of worms for me. Like this addictive part in me is so strong now. I have this very graspy energy that I didn't used to have before. So like with coffee, with just things that are less harmful, but it's like it opened up this kind of addictive piece in me and this kind of tendency to be reaching for things or feeling like I need something.
Yeah.
And I still struggle with my focus. And so all that to say, it takes time, and I just want people to know that so that they can hopefully
Yeah.
be patient with themselves.
Thank you. I agree. It's true. It's part of it. It takes longer than we would all like it to take, and it's totally part of it. Did anyone in your circle or life notice what was going on with you or express concern during your quits or anything?
I was I did a very good job at hiding it. I guess I'll say that no one really knew for a very long time. I carried it on my own for a really long time, and that shame was so heavy. And going through those withdrawals and all of this on your own is so hard. So I just want to say that for because I know a lot of people are in the same situation where they are struggling with it in silence. And that's where I was for pretty much the entirety of it until the end when I finally like came clean about it. So no one really knew. I think towards the end, my mental health had gotten so bad. So my family could tell that something was off with me, but I think they were like, "Oh, she's just stressed with the business, she's stressed with work, or it's something else." They didn't really know, and I wasn't being fully honest about what I was going through, so I can't really expect people to know. I think, like I said,
Yeah.
people were maybe catching on to the fact that I was struggling with something, but they didn't. No one really knew. I was acting business as usual. I was very functional. I was doing everything still.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then let's talk about the process of the self quits over and over again and the relapses going into the decision to seek treatment. Cause I know you said you did find treatment and it was more of an alternative space. It sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
For sure. So like I said, basically 2024, I had 20 consecutive days was my longest quit on my own. And it had gotten to the point where I was just like I was a shell of myself. My my I just was so exhausted. I was so exhausted at that point of the addiction cycle. I was just like, I can't keep doing this. And I just knew I couldn't do it on my own because I had tried so many times. And at that point, I had finally told my partner at the time and my parents, and I basically my physical health actually that was a big part. My physical health had gotten pretty bad too. That was really starting to scare me. I would lay in bed at night and my heart would be pounding out of my chest. I was scared I like wouldn't wake up in the morning, and I was vomiting multiple times a day daily. So I was like very malnourished and dehydrated. When I checked into treatment, I like would bloat every time I would eat very severely because my body had stopped producing digestive enzymes because the product would wipe my appetite and then I was vomiting all the time. So I just had a lot of these physical symptoms that were getting worse and worse that I couldn't ignore them anymore. Not to mention I was just very depressed, having panic attacks and all
Yeah.
of that. So finally I was
Oh,
just like, I'm tired of living like this. And I come from a family with addiction. And so I had visited treatment centers in the past for family weeks, visiting that family member, and I had seen them go through a couple of different types of programs. And the 12 steps ones never really were made lasting change. I know they can be so helpful for so many people. I just didn't see it to believe it. So when that
yeah.
person went to the sanctuary, which is where I went, it was like an integrative holistic treatment center. They they focus on addiction, but they also focus on mental health and really anyone who's in crisis. And when that person went there and I visited them for family week, I could truly see the transformation that had happened. And I could just feel this like energy there. It was a very powerful place. And I just really appreciated their holistic approach to free and being in the wellness space that really appealed to me. So I was like, if I'm going anywhere, it's here. I didn't even consider anywhere else. And I told my parents, and like within a few days, like, thank God bless, I'm very fortunate I was able to go. Within a few days, I was on a flight to Arizona and I was at treatment. Yeah, it was an incredible experience being there. It really changed my life in a lot of ways.
Okay, so the sanctuary in Arizona,
Yeah, the sanctuary in Sedona.
Sedona.
And yeah, like I said, they treat addiction, mental health, like I said, anyone in crisis. And so there's people there
Yeah.
for kind of all kinds of different things. But it's very much they
Okay.
take their approach is they view, and this is how I kind of view addiction now too, is they view addiction more as a coping mechanism. Like you think you're coming here for one thing, and then you start doing this deep inner work and you realize you're actually here for a whole lot of other things that have been going on for a lot longer. And
Yeah.
so that process involved a lot of therapy and deep inner work and really reflecting and looking at what are these root issues that are causing me to use in the first place. Beyond the fact
Mhm.
that this is an addictive substance and chemical dependency, there was obviously a reason I kept turning to it and why I have these addictive tendencies. And that was not an easy process. I had to look at a lot of old wounds and patterns and things from my child and all that kind of stuff. And it was hard, but it was
Yeah.
also very freeing to be like just in a place where I was focusing on nothing else but getting healthy. That was like the first time in my life I had ever put all of my other obligations aside to fully focus on myself like that. And that was ultimately what made all the difference is creating that time for myself. Before I was treating myself like a machine, like I said, and I was run by my calendar and by being there doing all the things and never saying no. And this was the first time I had nothing else to focus on but that. And I think that is a huge piece of it. It's been a huge piece of my recovery.
Yeah, that sounds really wonderful to spend that dedicated time just healing and working on yourself. Everyone deserves that time, especially after a
Yes.
period of burnout and overwhelm and overworking and everything. But
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds like a wonderful place to go. What was their reaction or understanding to Kratom? Did they know what to do? Did they know what it was? Like, how did they approach that?
Yeah, no one at that center had been there for this specific kava kratom drink, but there had been a couple people there in the past that had been there for kratom. So they did have kind of an understanding of that, and
Okay.
they had a well enough understanding to know what I was going through. But it was still like a cold turkey kinda quit. It was so different because I had so much more
Oh,
support around me. Like, I
okay.
yeah, I had quit, like, there was no medication-assisted detox there for me. I basically stopped at cold
Oh,
turkey
wow.
still,
Okay.
but I had a lot more support around me, which made a huge difference.
That's good. And then how long was that program for you?
I was there for 5 weeks. Typically, I extended a week because I just didn't feel ready,
Mhm.
but I was there for 5 weeks total. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, you must have come out a completely different person, huh?
It was yeah, a completely different person, and it's crazy to think that was actually the highlight of my entire year, was being there, because I had
Oh,
been in such a dark
you
place for
got
so long that
yeah,
yeah, it was like the first time
yeah,
I felt my joy come back, felt my spark come back, and I just really had confronted so much of what I had been running from and trying to keep up with in my life that I finally just faced it,
yeah,
and it was a lot less scary than I
yeah.
made it out to be, I think, and I think being there I was more scared to leave. I felt like I was in this
Mhm.
safe little bubble there, and I was really scared
Yeah.
to leave, and I came to face the fact that the reality, the life I had built for myself was not I couldn't keep going like that. I had to face that my life had to change in a lot of ways if I wanted to be sober. So, it was
Mhm.
scary to think that as soon as I left, I went through a big clearing out phase of my life, and since then, I very much have been in this in-between space of I've cleared out a lot of the old, but I still haven't fully stepped into the new, and that's a scary place to be, but it's also very freeing and exciting
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah,
the
that's
rebuilding.
okay. You're in the metamorphosis. You're
Yeah.
coming out of the cocoon and you're seeing what's out there. That's part of it. You'll
Totally.
you'll be the full expanded butterfly eventually.
Totally.
It's a slow I actually literally watched a butterfly come out of a cocoon a couple weeks
Oh
ago on
my
my neighbor's
god.
fence, and I was staring at it and I was like, "Oh my god, it's happening." And dude, it was happening, but it was like those butterflies take a long time to actually open their wings. I was, like, filming it, and I'm like, "All right,
Oh,
come on, I'm gonna
can you
watch you
do it
do it."
now?
And it's just hanging there, like, all juicy and smushy and, like, calibrating and
Mhm.
recalibrating, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'll come back in an hour and see how you're doing." It's not that fast. So
Right.
next
Well,
time
that
you beat yourself up for being a slow butterfly, they are
Yep,
slow.
it's a perfect analogy. I do keep saying that. I'm like, "This is my butterfly era. I am I'm evolving."
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah, it
evolution.
is. It's a thing.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about your time as a retreat planner and the wellness world? What was going on with that period of time? Was that during the marketing phase?
Mhm.
In addition, was there overlap? Tell
Yeah,
us more about that.
I was for sure. I was doing the marketing job full time for a long time while doing the retreats alongside of it. So that was pretty crazy. Eventually, I left. I was full time doing my own business, but yeah, I was going through this the entire time. I was doing all of it, and it was yeah, it was. It's honestly it's a lot to even think back on those times. Like I was detoxing while doing a retreat one time, like, it was th I was pouring so much of myself out to be there for everyone else, and granted, I pulled it off, like, all of the retreats went well, and, like, I was able to put on a brave face, but I was just, like, really crumbling inside, and I think that's a big piece of what I wanna share with others now too, is that I think so much of wellness can be performative and can be we think that the next newest thing is gonna fix us and heal us, and what I've come to learn through this experience is that it's just about really getting back to the basics, and I think being brave enough to be honest with ourselves and to face our patterns and our limiting beliefs and all of these things and actually do some of that deep inner work that a lot of us run from. It's a very normal thing to do is to, like, not wanna face it, but that to me is really what, like, true wellness has meant for me, and that is what has made the difference more than anything else, and I think going forward, like, I really wanna show that it's okay to be messy and imperfect and be not having it all figured out, and you can still make impact and still influence people and still do positive things in the world even if you're if you're just being authentic. I think that was a huge piece is just coming back to, like, authenticity, and that's been a huge part of sharing my stories. It's really scary, but it's also really freeing to be like, "This is who I am. This is what I've been through," and yeah, I think there's probably a lot of other people who are in the wellness space or who don't maybe appear on the outside like they'd be struggling with addiction who are hiding it. And so I just want to
Yeah.
kind of show that for people is that it's okay. Like
Yeah.
we're all struggling with things.
We're all struggling and evolving, and it's okay to share your
Yeah.
perspective without being fully healed or
Yeah,
fully done
exactly.
or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you can share throughout your journey and
Yeah.
yeah. Do you feel like with your own wellness journey and recovery, but just like wellness and health in general, do you find that you're scared of new products now? Or I don't know, I have a fear of labels, or has this affected your just
Yeah.
product intake or anything? Because it did for me. I'm afraid of everything now.
Yeah. For sure, for sure. I definitely wouldn't say I'm afraid of everything now.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just more I definitely am more cautious. I'm more discerning about what looking really being cautious about what I take. And I think really though, it's come down to the to having a true understanding that there is no such thing as a quick fix as a quick fix. There's nothing that is going to heal me, and there's nothing that's going to make me happy except myself. Like, I am the only one who has the power to do those things, and often it's through doing these foundational like, sleep, eating healthy, exercising, being outside in nature, being around like-minded people who support and love you. Like, that is true wellness. Like, you don't need all of these bells and whistles, and half the time it's just becomes another addiction. So I think that's truly what I no longer am like, oh, there's something else out there that's gonna fix me. That's been
Yeah,
the biggest change for me.
definitely. Okay, for sure. And then were you writing during this time of addiction too?
No, it's crazy. This experience is actually what kind of brought me back to writing. I used to love
Mhm.
writing as a child and growing up, and when I was young, I used to say I wanted to be an author, but that was, like, long forgotten, and it wasn't until about a month after getting out of treatment that I started writing again, and it was just like the words just started flowing out of me, and they just have not stopped since. I always knew I was a good writer, but I just hadn't done it in years. And yeah, at the beginning of the year or at the end of last year, I started a Substack, and I made a commitment to myself to just develop a consistent writing practice and to publish on Substack once a week. And I've held up to that commitment, and I'm proud of myself because of it. And it hasn't been an issue. Like I said, the words have just flowed out of me, and it's been a really cathartic process for me, a really great creative outlet. I think tapping back into your creativity and your playfulness is a huge part of recovery. At least it has been for me. And I really love that. I've really enjoyed that.
That's great. And what can you tell listeners what your Substack name is?
Yeah, it's Mackenzie Wisdom. You can probably find it like that. But my newsletter on Substack is called Words from Wisdom. My last name's Wisdom. So little
That's great.
play on words.
Yeah. And then, yeah, you've probably been writing out scripts for all your Instagram and TikTok videos. I was checking your profile earlier today, and the Instagram reel itself had 288,000 views or something. But apparently, your TikTok has even more, like over 1.4 million views on one of your videos about the Kava Kratom tonic in early August. So,
Yeah.
yeah, listeners, you should probably take a look at that. It's all at Mackenzie Wisdom or Mackenzie Wisdom 5 for TikTok. So definitely some good
Yes.
information there. I had two separate friends send these videos of you to me without any context. They're like, check out this girl, Mackenzie. I'm like, yep, I'll be interviewing her next week. And they're like, what? So
Yeah.
your words are being shared with the world. So often we say all this stuff and it never gets out there. And what you're saying is getting out there, and I think that's really great.
Thank you.
Yeah, your words are
Yeah,
making a
I'm
difference.
Thank you. No, it means a lot. It's really helpful to hear that. It's been scary, like I said, like this has been my deep dark secret for so long. So being able to like actually share my story is with the intention to just help people and make people feel less alone has been really, a big piece of my recovery journey that I didn't think would be so important. And it's been so freeing.
Yeah,
And like I said, my intention right now is really to just move from a place of like honesty and authenticity. And I think the best leaders that I aspire to or look up to have that quality about them. And I just think
yeah,
there's nothing more like disarming or that you can relate to more than someone who's just honest with their flaws and their shortcomings and their addictions, whatever it is. So
absolutely.
I hope to help make impact with my story and just continue to write about my experiences, even though I call it like fully baked. Like I'm not out of the oven, I'm fully baked, but I'm hoping that I
Yeah.
can still help make an impact regardless.
Oh, you are. Yeah, you're recalibrating and writing about the process, and that's a lot of the very interesting part of it all. In terms of your extended recovery, like what types of things do you turn to for support aside from what you mentioned before of like friends and family and nature, sleep and eating? Are there any groups that you like to attend or anything
Yeah.
else?
Yeah, all the ones I mentioned earlier are kind of like those foundational pillars. But I think because I'm not in a 12-step program, my recovery has definitely been pretty like personalized to my kind of had to make it myself. Therapy, I would say, is probably one of the biggest ones. I'm in therapy 1 to 2 times per week, and that's a non negotiable for me. I notice if I go a week without it, like a big part of my recovery has been learning how to feel my feelings. I think I've been an emotional stuffer and runner my whole life, just running
Mhm.
from numbing, not feeling, and learning how to feel my feelings and confront what is actually going on. It rather than turning to a substance is still very challenging for me, something that I have to work on. And so that therapy once or twice a week is huge for that, is just talking through that, talk about what's coming up. And then also routine, establishing a solid routine. I have a very particular morning ritual that I do every single
Okay.
day that really helps set me up for the day and helps me just center myself before interacting with the rest of the world. And that's a huge piece. And then also, one last thing is having boundaries with myself and with others. So I think I've had to learn how much energy I actually have naturally and what I can do with that energy. And so being very conscientious about who I'm around and how I feel when I'm with them and afterwards, and not pushing myself to be in these environments that are draining for me, especially environments that have a lot of alcohol or anything like that. It's really draining. And so I have to be very conscientious and be like, I can do this for 2 hours, but then it's time for me to go home. And having grace for myself through that, like it's sometimes I feel bad. Like I feel like I should still be able to stay out and be the life of the party and all these things. And I have to remember, like in early recovery, like it's fine to be a little bit of a introvert and not want to do as much. Like I think that's a normal part of the process. And so I'm trying to be patient with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And also, I don't know. I think for a lot of people, it sounds like what you're saying too. For a lot of folks, it exposes just the discomfort that maybe we naturally had in some of these situations. When you take away alcohol, but then you take away the kava kratom drink, which made you tolerate those situations to be part of them. And then you take that away and you're like, wait, do I even like this? Do
Yes,
I?
totally. I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. And so that it makes you very particular about what environments you place yourself in. And I've put boundaries around how I spend my time, who I spend it with, what environments I'm in, really prioritizing my morning rituals and like the things I need to do to not use like that.
Yeah.
This whole year, because I've put my work on pause, and I'm so fortunate to have been able to do that and to really be able to focus on my health and my sobriety, but it's been necessary for me. Like I've had to make sobriety my number one priority because it has not been for so long. And that is
Yeah.
truly where it has to come first. Otherwise, everything else falls apart. And that's what I learned. It's like you can't build unless you have that foundation. So it's like really focusing on
Yeah.
laying the groundwork for that foundation so you can build from there.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to share what some of your morning rituals are?
Sure, it's my favorite topic.
Tell us.
um, I start every day, but usually I go and work out first thing. And then I come back, I read a couple different morning devotionals. So like a couple different daily readings from different books that I have. What is it called? I think it's The Daily Dose. I don't know, that might be
Yeah.
wrong. But The Daily Dose by Alan Cohen is one of my favorites, and so is The Pivot Year by Brianna Weist. I really love her as a writer. Those are two of
Oh.
my favorites. So I read a couple different passages. Then I pull one of my oracle cards and tarot cards. I love my cards. So I pull a card and then I do some journaling. It depends on how long I'll journal for, but I do a little journaling. And I have my little morning coffee during all of this time. And it's just really nice too. And yeah, I think prayer too. Like connecting with something greater than myself. And that kind of happens in that morning time. Yeah,
Oh, that sounds
that's
like a
kind of what I do.
wonderful morning. I love
It
that.
is. It is.
What deck do you use? I'm also an affirmations and archetype
Love
and
it.
tarot deck. I have 5 decks over there right now.
Nice. Oh yeah, I love the cards. I have the Lightseer tarot deck, and then my favorite deck right now is the Animal Spirit Oracle deck. I don't remember who makes it, but it's my favorite. I love animals, so I love pulling an animal card every day. I have
That's
others too.
exciting.
I rotate through them, but those are probably my favorite.
Have you heard of the Kim Kranz Wild Unknown Archetype deck?
Yes, I actually just gifted that to someone.
Should I pull you a
That's a
card
good
from
one.
it right now?
I would love that so
I
much.
feel like I actually had a feeling that I don't do this. I actually had a feeling that we should do a card for this session. I just had a feeling and I got it
Oh my
out.
gosh.
Ha!
Wow, how serendipitous. I
This
love
is
this.
cool. I think it'll be so for those who don't know, there's tarot, however you like to say it. There's tarot and then there's archetypes, which are like different images, different things that you might embody, like a person, place, or thing. And these cards are circular and they look like diamonds on the back, so it's really pretty.
Ooh, I like
Um,
those.
and sometimes I like to pull a card for someone to see where they're at or what they need to know for the day. So I'm just shuffling the deck. This
I
is
love
fun.
that. Do you pull
I
cards
get
every
to
day
be
too?
You know what? I did for a long time. I got out of the habit and now I feel like my stack of decks is just a piece of art right now. So this is good that I'm getting it out. Because I
I'm
used to
glad
do
you're
it
doing some
every
use
day
stuff.
and it would really help me out. Okay. Do you want to tell me when to stop? I'm going to put my finger over the
Okay.
cards.
Stop.
Okay. Ha! Okay, you pulled the mask.
Ooh.
And it's a picture of a half moon, and then on the other side, it's half a mask with a beautiful rainbow background. And the mask, this is a good one. The mask. Okay, so this is what it says. The mask. Ooh, the mask, the persona, the performance, the reveal. We often think of a mask as something that conceals our identity, yet contemplate the possibility that the mask permits our true identity to be revealed. It allows. The mask gives voice to that which was previously rejected. When this card
Mm.
appears, enact the side of you that is seeking expression, yet was never given a role to play on the stage of your life. You are in the realm of theater, so anything is possible. Speak with the other's voice, embody the other's limbs. You're taking part in the ritual of expanding the self. There may be mischief and deception around, and others may be trying on new masks too. No one is sure who is who. It's likely that you become so attached to a single mask that you need to fall face forward into this perception bending time. Trust it.
That is so perfect for what we were talking about. I love
Yeah.
it. Like I said,
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
just so much of this has been like coming to terms with the fact that I am not perfect. I cannot expect myself to be perfect and I cannot try to uphold that image to everyone. It's just like being honest with, I think just being authentic. It's been such a big, not that I ever wasn't before, but I just wasn't fully being truthful about my struggles. And I
Yeah.
think there's so many layers to all of us. And when we can like fully own our light and our shadow, I think that's really what is powerful. And that's really what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So I love that card. It's perfect.
Yay. Yeah, the shadow self can be very scary. It can be scary to look at, just the dark
Totally.
side of things. And yeah, we all have it. We're all light and
Mhm.
dark, and sometimes the light overshadows the dark and you can't see what's
Yeah.
there. And then you take things away and oh, that's not too pretty, but let's look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. I love that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for being open to that. Not everyone is, right? How is your life today, kratom free? What does your average day look like beyond your morning rituals? Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I definitely feel like I'm in the void, like this in between space where I just don't know exactly what's next for me. But I've been writing a lot. Like I said, I've been doing some freelance writing for some other publications, and I've also been writing on my own Substack. And I've been spending a lot of time strategizing where I want to take my business next. I think I eventually will do retreats again, but I think that will just be a facet of my business and what I do. I want to do more than that. And so I'm just really trying to look at what that looks like. So yeah, beyond my morning routines, I still keep myself very busy with writing and working on other projects. And it's been nice being in I've been in Chicago the last couple of months, being close to family. And like I said, I was sorry, my phone rang.
Oh, good.
Before before for most of the beginning of the year, I was traveling. So I was in Japan for 3 weeks, and I was in Bali for
Oh,
6 weeks.
cool.
I was in Costa Rica I was doing my 300-hour yoga teacher training actually.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so I've been traveling a lot, and it's travel is like my greatest passion, and so that has been a big piece of me getting back to myself is just
Good.
exploring and yeah,
That's
enjoying my world.
wonderful. Yeah. And then do you have any other tips for someone getting ready to quit kratom or start that process?
Yeah, I think telling someone, even if it's just one person, even if it's just going on the Reddit thread and making a post there, even if it's anonymous, it just somehow finding a way to lighten the load that you're carrying. It's so heavy and it makes everything 10 times worse, at least in my experience.
Yeah.
It's already hard enough as it is, and then to carry it all on your own is even harder. So I felt a huge sense of relief when I finally started talking to people about it and confiding in people. So I think that is probably my biggest tip. And then having people to hold you accountable through that process. And that is a big one. And then I think also finding ways, if it's possible, to physically separate yourself from the substance. So obviously not having it in your home, and this is not possible for everyone, but I think like being at treatment, obviously I physically could not get it. So it was impossible for
Yeah.
me to relapse. So if there's any way you can put more barriers between yourself and the substance, even in early recovery, that was when I went to Costa Rica for 6 weeks for my yoga training. And the fact that I physically couldn't get it was helpful. I recognize not everyone can do that, but anything you can do, even if it's like just having that accountability partner to
Yeah.
physically distance yourself so that you don't slip in a moment of weakness and make that decision. And then
Exactly.
in recovery, like one of the things, I just made a video about this, but I call it like play the tape, which this is probably a very common, I don't know, this might be a common one, but this has been huge for me now. This was a lot harder when I was really early in recovery because it just wouldn't work. But now it's play the tape. So just the other day, I was in a gas station and I saw the feel free display. And I don't have that many cravings anymore, but this moment caught me off guard. And I was like, oh my God, maybe just one. I started justifying it. So I
Oh.
spent some time like walking around the store and I was like, play the tape. And I played the tape and I'm like, I buy this feel free. Sorry. I buy this tonic. I drink the tonic. I maybe feel some sort of elevated high for 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And then immediately I'm going to feel like, you know what? I'm going to feel terrible. I'm going to be nauseous and I'm going to be absolutely completely disappointed in myself. Will have broken my commitment to myself. And this will affect how I feel about myself for the next day, week, month, year. Like this one decision alone, like in that sense, the catastrophizing of it helps. You know?
Yes.
I know catastrophizing is not always the healthiest mental pattern, but in that case of playing the tape, it
Yeah.
makes me realize, yeah, not worth it. I'm not doing that to myself. And then it's like I bought my coffee and I got out of there as fast as I could. So it's like as fast as you can remove yourself from that triggering environment is really helpful as well. So those are some of my
That's
tools that I
good.
use now. Yeah.
That's good. And then is there anything else that you wanted to say about anything before we sign off?
Oh, I feel like I've said everything mostly. I guess the last thing I'll say is although this has been a really painful experience, this is definitely one of the hardest things I've ever gone through in my life, and it brought a lot to the surface for me that has been very hard, and the rebuilding has been very hard. It has also been the greatest catalyst for change in my life, and I truly feel that by having this experience, I've learned so many lessons that I otherwise might not have learned, and so it's been a great blessing in that sense where I was able to really take inventory of my life and look at what was working and what was not working, and I had the opportunity to clear the slate and redirect, and so all that to say, I think it reinforced for me that idea that, like, our greatest breakdowns are often our biggest breakthroughs if you allow them to be. If you allow them to be and if you use them as teachers. So I think anyone who's in breakdown right now, anyone who's at their rock bottom, like it's really hard to see it in the moment. But once you can use that, if you can use that opportunity as a teacher and use it as an opportunity to really evaluate your life and take inventory and make changes, it can be a huge stepping stone and really change the trajectory of your life for the better. So that's my last message, I
Yeah.
would say.
No, absolutely. When you're in it, it just sucks, and it just sucks, and
Yeah.
it's hard to see anything
Mhm.
out of that, like you said, and yeah, it does take a long time to be able to even look back and reflect on it as anything you can learn from. It can just suck for a while, but eventually
Yep.
the shift will happen, and yeah, and it's okay if it takes a long time too. Like we
Yep.
both said, things take way longer than you would like them to or think that they will, and eventually we all have some little nugget of wisdom, that comes out of it.
Yeah. For
Not Miss
sure.
Wisdom
Yeah,
over
it's
here.
wisdom from wisdom. That's
Yes, wisdom
totally
from
right.
wisdom. I like
Yeah,
it.
just being
Maybe that
patient with
can be,
yourself. It's
yeah, patience, patience and yeah, patience and tolerance for yourself.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like we talked about all the things today, and I really appreciate your perspective from the wellness world and just how insightful you are on everything. And it's been really nice talking with you. And I'm going to keep watching your videos that you make. There's a lot of them on her Instagram. I'm not a TikToker, but there's a lot on Instagram and TikTok. So again, it's at Mackenzie Wisdom or Mackenzie Wisdom 5 for TikTok. And she's on Substack as well. And yeah, thanks
That
for coming on today, Mackenzie.
Thank you so much, Lily. This has been such an incredible full circle moment for me, like I said, and I just really appreciate how warm and welcoming you are and made this very comfortable. And thank you for pulling my card too.
Yay! You're so welcome. All right. Bye for now.
Awesome. Bye. Thank you.